what we wanted to do here is talk to some primes that have been at least at one stage or another going through the CMMC process. Just get a little understanding of what they have seen so far. They're all in different parts of their journey, and hopefully we'll get some insight to maybe what this looks like here in the Northwest. So with us today, we start on the far side. We've got Randy Black. I said blank. Sorry.
That's okay.
He's not blank.
Pretty much.
What's that?
I am.
So Randy's with Port Madison Construction. And Randy, I'll let you kind of say who you are. Is that on? I gave it to you. Turned off.
No, it's on. I got it. Good afternoon, everybody. We started this, I can't remember exactly how many months ago, but it was quite some time ago. I would say that I definitely have a few more gray hairs since the time we started it. It is not for the faint of heart. It does take a lot of time to go through things, and it's not something you're going to do in a month or 2 months like they've been telling you. This takes a long time to get done. And it's in a combination because there's a lot of things that, as a contractor, that I don't understand when it comes to the IT side. That's not my world. I can build buildings, I can do roads and do all that, but when it comes to the IT stuff, I can turn on my computer and do emails and do specs, but when it comes to IT stuff, I know nothing. So it's trying to work with the IT department and the legal team to understand all the stuff we need to do and how to write your scopes and do all that. It takes a lot of time and a lot of planning. So be prepared for that. It does take that.
Awesome. Introduce over here. Next we have Theresa Melendez, and she's a project engineer with Holmes Mechanical. Give a little.
Yeah, so we are actually a subcontractor, and at times we do play the role of a prime. And we have been on this journey since we got the first kind of notification that this was rolling out, and that was back in 2019. So I've been championed by my company to kind of take over this project. Back when it was CMMC 1.0. We put a lot of money into it. We jumped on it because we were like, this is going to affect our community, and we want to make sure that we take full advantage of being in compliance. So we've been on this journey for about 6 years, and as it has changed, I became a CCP just to gain more knowledge and kind of have more insight with the assessment process. And just so that I could better educate the company about what to expect. And again, because I'm being championed with this, so now we're kind of going through our journey. We're like 99.9% level 1 self-assessed, and we're getting pretty close to level 2. So we had to start from the beginning, basically. We were at 80, and then when they changed over to 2.0, we were like, whoa, and here we are at negative 200. La la la. So it's been quite a journey, and I know that it's been a huge financial commitment for the company, and we're a small business. However, all of our work is for the DOW. So this is something we need to do and we need to comply with, and we've also been kind of a resource for our subcontractors and kind of helping them gain knowledge and what it's going to look like for our future, because we are a small community here. And we kind of work with some of the same subcontractors on all our projects. And even though we're not a prime, we still kind of have to trickle that down to our subs. And we're all small businesses around here. There's not really a whole lot of large companies that we work with. They're mom and pop shops that have been around for 30 plus years who've been in the community. And we want to, just like Steve's passion and mission for this whole thing is, we want to help our community and to get them compliant. And so anyway, that's
awesome. Thank you. And next we have Jenn Giove with American Machines. Tell us who you are, a little bit about American Machines.
We are a very small company. We are mainly the prime on our contracts, and we have been working with Help Desk on getting certified for CMMC Level 2 since around February or March of 2024. It is a long process, and it takes a lot of hours and commitment, and it is expensive as well. Just so you know, it isn't something that you can do in a few months. It has taken us almost 2 years. But we have gone through our certification process, training met, and we should have our certificate by the end of the month, if not early November. So that's a great feeling that we were able to accomplish that. But again, it does take a lot of time. And we are a small company, so it was a lot of hours invested. But I greatly appreciate the help of Help Desk Calvary. Without them, I'm a finance person, I'm not an IT person, so, you know, it's not my wheelhouse at all. And going through the assessment process, it is very technical, and that security plan. It's all about the security plan. So they did an amazing job, answered all the questions. It was intimidating, daunting going into it, and the level of expertise that they had and walked the assessors through the process, it was amazing. So we got done in 2 days. It was scheduled for a week. So that was good. But yeah.
First off, congratulations.
Yeah.
You guys saw how many companies in the entire country have obtained certification. So to be one of those 300 is quite a feat. Congrats. All right, so as you guys can see, completely different avenues with everybody here. So Randy, who's been involved with your journey? So last year, they co-hosted this last year, or premier sponsorship, and really appeared to take full ownership of the requirements and wanted to move forward with that. And over the course of that year, I'd like to kind of understand what that's looked like.
Well, for us, it's a little different because our IT department runs everything for the Suquamish tribe. So if you can imagine the casino and all the other areas. So for us, we had to go completely separate for our own enclave and our own tenant space to move away from everything to be under. So that was the biggest undertaking for our IT department, was to go through all of this information with legal and decide, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to set up this tenant? We're going to do this. It's been very hard, I can imagine, for them, but for us on the side is we've had to change out our computers, wipe our phones, change everything over to the new tenant. My staff complaining, it doesn't look like it used to before. Everything's different. This is harder. You know, you get all these things, but you know, as time goes on, you realize that it's not quite as hard once you start using the new system. And actually, I think the system that our IT department has done has made it faster for us to do our work. I think some of the stuff we might have had in the past might have been more outdated, and then now we're moving to a faster system, better processes and stuff. So it's been a huge learning curve. I'm not gonna lie, it's very frustrating sometimes. I actually had a good joke that I pulled on my staff where when we did the original changeover, I went over to Kodak, Alaska for a job because I knew that I'd be remote and I couldn't hear all the phone calls coming in. Sometimes you got to enjoy yourself every once in a while where you work, right? So, yeah. But we're through the processes now we're starting to write all the processes and get everything narrowed down to what we have to. So we do meetings all the time. We're starting these more meetings to basically go through because, like I said, I don't understand IT. IT doesn't understand what I do, so it's now going through of how we receive the RFP. One of the toughest things to explain to somebody is the RFP isn't always the same. It comes from Bremerton. It's different than how it comes from Bangor. It's different how it comes from Whidbey Island. So everything is different. So how do you write a process when the government itself doesn't do a process to follow? Because it's always different. So that's a challenge that we run to as well too. And anybody going through is going to run through the same problems. That is a difficult. I had a meeting here we had keyed in stuff, and I think Terry, you might have been there. One of the captains was there. Wasn't Captain Hale. I'm trying to remember the other captain's name, but one of the things I couldn't understand is you have Bremerton does this way, Bangor does this way, Whidbey does this way. Why can't it be a NAFAC Northwest way? Why can't it be a Navy way? You know, it would make it a lot easier for us contractors, especially if you're coming from out of state or one of those. Hey, I've been working at Bremerton. I finally figured it out. Okay, I'm going to start working at Bangor. Oh wait, that's all different. You know, that's a challenge that we run into. It's the same with how they put the jobs out. It's always going to be different. So hopefully one day that gets changed. I'm not going to hold my breath on that. We just have to learn to adapt because, look, they're our client. We got to take care of them however they do it. It is what it is. So.
I love that. I don't know if anybody else is picking up on this, but nothing he just talked about has anything to do with technology. Right? CMMC is business operations, and techs can't do CMMC for you. It takes business planning
Yes.
to create this. I love that you're looking at it from that angle. It's great. Theresa, you were here last year, got to meet Corinne Wise and go through your own certification for CCP. Why did you elect to go that direction?
Well, honestly, when Corinne was speaking, I was like, if I'm going to learn from anybody, I'm going to learn from her. She's just a superstar, and I did her self-paced class, and it was amazing. And I enjoyed just being able to take my time because I still work full-time as a project engineer, so having to kind of fit this into my schedule. And I think it was like right before the holidays even too. So yeah, I mean, I wanted the education, and so I kind of told my boss, I'm like, I think it would be really beneficial for me to go through this if you're championing me, so that I have all the knowledge that I can to help our company kind of achieve and maintain this certification. So I just thought it would be really beneficial for the cost that it was. It was, as long as you're willing and able to do the certification, because the test is horrible. But I passed, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on that. Jenn, you mentioned your small business. Micro, yes. Guys elected to just leverage HD cab and our PO process and building an enclave, our security. Why do you look at, first off, why were you guys going CMMC so early?
Well, we knew it was coming, and we are the prime on our contracts. So a little blurb in our contracts, it's in there. It's not, enforced, but they are starting to mention it. So we knew that it would be a long process. We needed to get a jump start on that, and so, and we had conversations with your team, and that kind of kicked it off. And I'm glad that we did it now, and not at the last minute, because it took us, like I said, over 1.5 years to complete. Not to say that things won't change, in the next year or so, but at least we've got that framework. We've got, our certification, and then we can modify that as things change down the road.
Great. And Theresa?
So early on, CMMC 1.0, American Machines had given us a contract, and there was CMMC language in there. And I was like, excuse me? This isn't in play yet. Why is this in here? And it kind of and that was kind of why we kind of jumped on our 1.0. It was just like, it's in the contract. Like, we can't sign this contract, and we kind of had to have that discussion with Ronnie at the time. But so our companies are related. We're just, the owners are related. So we have kind of these brother companies in the area. And so we have that benefit of being able to ask the brothers and kind of have what are you guys doing and how are you kind of going through that? But anyway, with that clause in the contract, I know they ended up coming out with a rule saying you can't put it in after this date anymore, but I don't know why it was in there. But that triggered, we felt the urgency when that happened, and it carried down to them. They're like, we don't know what that is. Why is it in our contract too? So we had to question that. It got removed.
So I spoke this morning about companies bringing, some of our clients bringing these contracts to us and asking for assistance, and what got us into it. And Theresa's company is definitely one of those that did that with us. So. Randy?
And what I also want to state is I went to a small business association meeting, and it was one of the biggest ones, of course, that goes around. It was in February, and it was in New Orleans. And it was about a 4-day conference. And I would say, 85% of that conference was just talking about CMMC. A lot of breakout sessions, pretty amazing to go through and listen to, but each one that I went into and sat and listened, they were all saying the same thing, is look, there's only so many people to be able to certify you. The longer you wait to get on board, the harder it's going to be able to get it done because everybody else is going to get put in front of you. Now this was in February, and the people in these meetings said that they were already booked out to December from February of that year. So already booked out to December of this year. Now can you imagine how far they're booked out now? So the longer you take to do this, the longer it's going to take you to get your certifications. And without your certifications, you can't get contracts. Yeah.
That's crazy. So I don't know about anybody else, but I haven't been to a conference in the Northwest where they were talking about CMMC.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing this. Everywhere else in the country, they're focused on this. And for some reason, we've got our heads in the sand and thinking it's not going to happen. It is. The requirement's here, and if we're not getting ahead, we're already behind the rest of the country, but if we're not getting ahead of our competition locally, we're really missing the mark here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Randy.
I would say there was probably, I can't even tell you how many tens of thousands of people that was at that conference, but just each individual breakout room would be bigger than this with chairs just for people to talk about CMC. There was a lot. It was pretty impressive.
And people were asking me today what I envision next year to look like, and that's what I'm envisioning, because the message is going to come out this year no matter what, because the contractors are going to start having that requirement, and we're going to see that. Everybody else is going to try and catch up to you. You're speaking about delays and whatnot. Jen, just earlier in the month, they were like, we are so busy, we're traveling. Is there any way we can bump back our assessment a little? And we checked with the C3PAO, and they're like, yeah, you can bump it back. And it was like 5 months was their next availability. So
Yeah.
they crammed it and made it happen. All right. So, Theresa, what would you say has been the biggest surprise so far?
Biggest surprise is that we weren't here yet. Actually, my biggest surprise is that the community is still not engaging and understanding the urgency to get this done. Just talking to our subs, they're like, what's CMMC? That was last month. I'm like, I thought we've talked about this before, or, and they're like, well, we don't have to do that. I'm like, we don't have any CUI. I'm like, but if we have CUI, you're gonna have CUI. You can't install certain products without looking at these drawings that were, I can't just go up to you and go, okay, we're gonna need 100 feet of duct and some insulation, and you're just gonna put it in this building over here. Just come with me, I'll show you where you're gonna put, it just doesn't work that way. That's not, we're not gonna get an accurate installation or estimate on, the cost. So we're just helping out ourselves right now, and that's this room should be filled. We've got Everett, Whitby, Bangor, PSNS, Keyport, JBLM. We've got all these military installations, and we're not getting people from the East Coast really to do the work out here that are more educated and certified or whatever. And it's it's hurting our community, and just seeing how no one's really being proactive about it. You can only lead them to the water, right? You can't make them drink. So and I'm always putting myself out there with my subs, if you need my help, I'm a CCP. I can walk you through some level 1 things. I can kind of guide you, give you resources. Kyle's playbook was really good for me. And I've even, in help desk, obviously we partner with help desk, and they are huge help for us. And I just appreciate David and all that he's done to partner with us. And I know this isn't like we're trying to sell anything up here, but like, it's important to have a great team and to get the word out to your subs, because it's gonna affect you, and not getting your work done. Like, I need an insulator, I need an electrician, I need controls, like, that go into integrate the system into the government system. Like, I need these people to get this project complete, and if I don't have that, then it doesn't matter if we're level 2 certified, because we can't get the work done.
It's definitely scary.
So to your point, Theresa, I was just curious, what is kind of the buzz or the industry knowledge out there with the subs? Like, are you hearing them talk about it, or are you alarmed that you're not hearing them talk about it?
I would say there's only a few, like, in our kind of circle that are really like, oh yeah, we're working on it now. You know, like, we have a visitor sign in, and it's like, okay, that's great. That's step number 1, I guess. But I can't really give you a percentage, but it's not that high of how many people are really like getting into this. And like, we've got electricians, we've got insulators, we've got controls, we've got, you know, and it's like, okay guys, you know, and they're just like, what's that? What's that? So.
Yeah. The ones that do understand it are the ones that say, look, we're willing to pay the money, we're willing to get this done. And they're hoping their competitors, are not.
Yeah.
So they get the work.
So they gatekeep.
Yeah, it's true.
They do.
Yeah, which makes it difficult for us as primes, because we're stuck with less pricing, competitive pricing, because other people don't want to go through it. And so then that creates a hassle. Then now it creates a hassle with the government, because now the projects are coming in higher because of all this. And it's just that whole cycle of a battle. It's not a fun area to be in. No. Jump in the back there.
So, Randy, asked you earlier about.
He had a question in the back there. I don't want to interrupt him.
Get there.
I just want to ask, we've been talking a lot about cost, but you got 3 different size companies here. If you don't mind me asking, what was, your expenditures roughly to get certified? What was your, they were estimating earlier 200,000, you know, for getting there, and then 50,000 for certification. Is that where you guys kind of land, or do you think between the changes you've made, the IT you've hired, everything you've had to do, the meetings, all that stuff, the new equipment? Yeah, just curious what you guys were estimating where you're at.
And man hours.
Yeah, man hours, that's a tough one, because, you know, ours, like I said, was a different circumstance for what we had to do to separate everything from the casino and all that stuff and make our own separate tenant and do that. So ours was probably a little more expensive than what other companies would have to go through, because of what we had to separate ourselves from, you know, to be able to come compliant and stuff to do that. I would assume as a smaller company, it would be less if you're already contained in your building and you're different, versus we're not contained in our building. We have a building down there where we do our work out of, but all our stuff is up here. So it's kind of a different story versus other, like homes and stuff like that. So, yeah.
For us, we, our IT, we do outsource that to help desk. So it is a monthly fee that we pay for this additional service. So we didn't like pay for the certification. Everything that we do that is CMMC related that they help us with is incorporated in our agreement for our monthly fee that we pay that. The enclave that we just adopted with Microsoft GCC, that is an additional monthly fee that we pay. And then of course, you know, we're in a small building, so the security, that wasn't too bad out of pocket, you know, so small things here and there. But mainly it's a ongoing monthly fee. And now we have the enclave, and we'll pay for that as well.
And I will attest, they actually had some additional expenses because there's mistakes that are made, decisions that are made along the way.
Leading edge?
Being leading edge. For us, and you know, you go down a track that you think is going to work well for you, and once you get down that track, you realize that's not the result I was looking for. So we had to adjust and move something over. Like I said this morning, we did that a number of times, and it's painful. So learning from other people's mistakes is very valuable to you.
So question here is, I'm hearing about the subcontractors, the kind of the electricians, doesn't sound like it would be huge companies. I mean, I don't know how big they are. How is it possible for these people to get certified? Is it practical for them to get certified? Are we losing people because they're too small? How is that handled?
Well, then we've got owners that are retiring, because again, they've been around for like 30 years and they're just like, we're just not gonna do this, and we're just gonna retire. Either hand the business over and just do private work. You know, you're either gonna merge with a bigger company that can get that certification, or you're just gonna, not do any DOW work. That's kind of what I see happening. Like, I haven't seen it happen, but I see can be happening if they're not gonna take the time or the investment, because it just doesn't, it's not valuable enough for them, which I hope they find the value in it, because again, it's such a small pool right now, and there's, they could be reaping a lot of rewards and a lot of contracts if they do just take that initial investment and get the certification, or,
I can follow on to that as well too. To understand if it's worth it or not. If anybody's done any research with the contracts that are coming out here with the federal government, it is unprecedented of the work that's going to be done out here in the next 10 years. When you consider SIOP, roughly $9 billion, the contracts that are out now, we have an 8A MAC that's going right now. That was $400 million for 8 years. It's probably going to be burned up in 4 years. That's how fast they've gone through that $400 million. We just got awarded a $100 million JOC, which is a lot of work. That's, it's all category 3 and 4 maintenance and repair. They have a Grande MAC that is through phase 1. It's supposed to be out any day. It's by November 17th. That is worth $1 billion for a MAC. Those projects range 5 to 30 million. They have a Vente MAC that they're waiting to put out, and that is $9 billion right there. So you're talking over 20-something billion dollars that they want to go through in the next 10 years out here. Let me ask you, do you think it's worth it to get certified to get this kind of work? I do.
Yeah, so now that you've pretty much been through the process, once you've been certified, and the rest of you are close, in retrospect, what would you have done differently to make it more efficient to get through from square one to where you are today?
It's a tough one to answer because you don't know what you don't know. When you're going through this, you really don't know everything you have to go through. You've never had to go through it before. So the IT department is going through stuff that they've never had to go through before. I'm having to go through things that I've never had to go through on our side, on the business side. So it is a learning experience. I would suggest that you definitely talk with people that have gone through it and try to learn them, at least try to figure out the mistakes that they made that they could have done better if they have any suggestions. Because, we're all willing to help each other out because we can only do so much of the work. We need everybody else out there to help us get these jobs done. We need the staffing, we need the companies, we need multiple companies to do the same thing, whether it's electrical, mechanical. We need lots of subcontractors to do all this work. It's impossible for just a few to do it. It can't be done.
Yeah, you spoke on this earlier, but I was just going to ask, how do you feel that gaining your certifications has opened up your ability to be more competitive with your contracts, like winning the business, as you just specified a few seconds ago?
Well, what it comes down to is simple: is if you're not certified, they let it go down the list and says, okay, this company's not certified, so guess what? We can't award you the contract. So you could be second place, third place, fourth place, and the first 3 don't have it. You get awarded the contract because you're certified. That's literally what it comes down to.
Go ahead.
As a subcontractor who's worked with PME in the past, is PME going to be requiring any subs, make it a requirement in your master agreement to be level 2 certified?
We haven't specified so much as level 2, but as far as level 1, as part of what goes in for a subcontractor, we do have the FAR language in our master subcontracts because it is in our contracts, so we have to pass that down. Obviously, we'd like to make sure that everybody is up to the level that we need them to be based on the size of the project that we're going to be doing. Because if you're not, I can't even send you the RFP to even give me a bid.
How about the two of you? Any changes to your process?
Currently, we're just kind of coming up with a game plan for our subs. Right now, we have generals who are emailing questionnaires, or if they do have projects coming out where the designers are considering it CUI. It's still in design, but in order for us to even view the drawings, we have to go through the cyber awareness challenge, we have to go through the DoD mandatory CUI training, and we have to go through OPSEC, and there's certifications that the general contractors are requiring us to give over to them to prove that we can handle the CUI. But those safeguards in your system should have already been in place since 2016. So like, you know, and it's just a matter of our generals now enforcing it because of CMMC. So we're just trying to figure out a way how we're going to do that with our subs again, and that's where we're getting all the pushback.
We're still working through that as well, but we have a small handful of subs that we use, really micro company. So, and they're one of them. So that's great. But yeah, we're working through it still. And then now that we've accomplished the certification, we're looking into working with our legal team that we have in Paulsbo to draft up language for our subcontracts going forward.
Yeah, I was going to ask more about that. One thing I'm finding is that when I encounter people that are subcontractors, where they say that they have a CUI passed down to them from their another business, right? I'm a cybersecurity like contractor and CMMC consultant, so I often then start trying to have the conversations about like, hey, you're receiving this thing that eventually they're going to ask you to start beefing up your information security for and your business processes for. Like, I want to make sure you can handle the same information that they're projected to handle. And then I either stop getting contacted or they kind of change the subject real quick. So I'm curious to know what your guys' feedback has been, like the blowback, what does it look like from the subs? And then sort of like, outside of like legal documentation, what sort of like other enforcement or maybe encouragement mechanisms, maybe incentivizing mechanisms are you guys sort of thinking of or prospecting on using to get them to fall into shape?
I think for me, the incentive that we offer is that we have a lot of contracts with the federal government. So if you want to work for us and you want to go work for the federal government and make money, you're going to have to be certified, plain and simple. So that's the main incentive, is just holding the contracts and saying, hey, we've got the contracts. Do you want the work or not?
Randy, are you having those conversations with them yet?
Yeah, I've been having it with them for over the past year. In discussions, and some, like, I'm even on job walks. I mean, I had one of the gentlemen that showed up here yesterday was somebody that I've known for a while, and he was like, what's that? I said, you need to go to this conference. And he owns a company, but he didn't know about all this stuff. He doesn't do a lot of the government work. He does some of it or whatever, on and off, but he wasn't really sure on it. So I said, you need to come here. You need to listen to what's being said, because I can't give you contracts after a certain point. If we're doing CUI, I can't even send you, can't even talk to you about it. So need to have it. Yep.
It's not really a question, but more of like a comment and encouragement to you guys, because we are a sub to contractors, and until like today, I didn't have a definitive answer as to what would be required of us. So that might be why you're not getting a lot of like information from your subs. Like, we just don't know. And as a mini business, we're not micro, but we're really small. Like, understanding what's required of us is not something that we have the capacity to do. I mean, obviously I'm here right now, I'm trying to learn, but we just didn't know. And when we would talk to our primes, we wouldn't get definitive answers. And maybe you guys didn't have it at the time, but like, understanding what is required of us wasn't really something that we got out of our primes.
I think that was partly because we had to wait for the rule to come into effect. Because we all know that sometimes the government does things where they say this is going to happen, you process it, and then it doesn't happen. That's a pretty common thing. So, I've tried when we had this last time with Steve and we put it on down here, I have on my master subcontract agreements for the jobs, I have 120 something master agreements with subcontractors out there. And I passed it out to every last one of them to know that, hey, you needed to be here. When we first did this, to kind of get them up, the understanding of it. And some were still like, it's probably not going to happen, not a big deal. I didn't realize the full effect until I, got to the small business and seeing how prevalent it was there and how many thousands of people were going to these things and ask them the questions they were asking. And you can see the fear in a lot of subcontractors' eyes already thinking that, God, I'm already behind. I should have listened. It's one of the biggest things that happens.
Just to echo that, I mean, I agree. From our perspective with Apex, we've been putting the information out for ever since, 5 years ago. But I was reticent to make it sound like, Chicken Little until recently. And now most of my messaging that I put out is exactly what you said. No compliance, no contract.
Yeah.
And it also has to do with human nature. People are going to put stuff off until they, one, actually have to do it, and two, they have the direction they need. And that has been a challenge with this. So I applaud all of the businesses that are here today and those that are working on their compliance. I mean, great job. And if you need, if you think of Apex for those people that are just like totally lost, we can help get them started, as well as obviously all the great companies here that are dedicated to helping the CMMC. So.
I think this is going to be a huge topic at Northwest Alliance for obvious reasons.
Theresa, this is for you. The CCP compliance that you got, was that worth it? And if so, how?
Definitely worth it. And I would highly suggest Corinne Wise with Wise Technology. I know that David Wynn went through her as well. She was at our conference last year here. And I mean, Joy, do you have a course as well? Joy has a course for CCP? Okay. Edwards Performance Solutions. She's one of their instructors. So I don't know if there's a way to like preview a lesson before you take it, because I've heard some, a friend of mine took a course and it was like monotone, Bueller, like, and that's a lot of information. It's 40 hours of information, all having to do with CMMC. So it was definitely worth it. I think it's benefited our company. I don't have to fully rely on all of help desks, because they are level 2 certified. I can kind of take some of the responsibilities and kind of, do a lot of the work for level 1 certification for our company. So it's benefited us, and I didn't realize how much I was going to like this, because I'm not an IT person. I work as project management, but I got all the alphabet soup acronyms down and all the bar clauses down, and it's like, going into talking to a doctor and they're just talking to you about some diagnosis and you have no understanding, and all you hear are just these terms, and then you're confused and you just don't know what your doctor's telling you, if it's something serious. And that's kind of like being educated in CMMC. It's like, now I know what that is, I know what that is, I know what that control is, I know, so it's understanding and being able to help your company and as well as our subs out when needed. So yeah, definitely, I should have a consultant firm on the other side.
I have to say, women in CMMC, the community there is incredible.
Yes.
They've got some amazing women that have taken this so far, and like you said, you don't like IT. This wasn't IT. This is a whole other animal, and so if you are interested, please talk to one of these great ladies here. They have either spoken or back there in the booths. Other questions? I don't know what our time is, but are any of you coming up with a business plan on how to recruit client or subs that are certified? Is there thoughts going forward? What's next? If this is real and 2 years from now, I've got contracts that are coming out and I don't have the resources, where are you looking?
Yeah, that's the interesting part, because this is a very small community out here, and can you imagine with, like I said, roughly $20 billion probably in the next 10 years out here, of having the subcontractors and the staff to be able to pull that off. It's going to be an interesting feat to say the least. I keep talking to all my subcontractors all the time. You guys need to get on board. You need to get this moving. I'm getting pretty good support from them out there, but I still think that it took some time until I realized, till the rule passed and stuff like that. But just trying to get them on board. Some have already been working on the backside of stuff. They've assigned somebody, just like what Holmes has done with you. You know, some of the electric companies and stuff like that, they've assigned people that's already looking at this information. I've passed on this stuff from Steve's previous one, and then with Corinne and stuff like that, I passed on that information to my subs. Anytime they ask me, I send them the information off because I want them to learn as quick as possible. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting come up if people don't get on board with this.
I was just gonna add, like, being able to have this conference available to this community. Thank you, because this is something I point them towards, whether they come or not. You know, it's a huge resource to gain the knowledge of what's going on. And, you know, there's also there was a conference that, I can't remember, SAME put together earlier this year, and they did talk about the PSYOP and all the work that's going to be available. NAFAC came and spoke, and so that also is a resource. So anytime I see a conference or something, I pass that on to my subs, especially the ones that have reached out and have been like, do I have to be level 1 or level 2? Oh my gosh, are you going to contract? Are you going to give me a award? You know, like, so there have been some that have panicked, and I'm like, okay, let's just calm down, go to Apex Accelerator, or, you know, if you have any questions, and, you know, I just kind of give them the resources that are available. Right now, we don't have a plan for how we're gonna kind of get our subs or find our subs, especially, we already know, like, who our main subs are that we use, so we're already kind of helping, guiding them, but if they don't get their certification, how are we gonna find, we might have to go out of state, you know, and unfortunately, and I don't know how that's going to work, but we're just trying to figure out our own protocol and our own procedures, because we're finding some challenges along the way, like, you know, drawings on site. Like, we used to go to a rubber graphics company in Paulsbo to print out big architectural drawings. Like, we need these 100 sheets of drawings, even though we just got one mechanical part, but we need the entire set. And I cannot send those drawings to them to get printed anymore because they're not certified. And our printer's like, you know, it's like this, you know, inkjet printer, like 1 page every 5 minutes. And it's like, well, now we have to upgrade, and now we've got to find a fixed hard, you know, integrated printer that's going to be able to, you know, go through our firewall. Like, and we're, thankfully Joy, she kind of hooked me up with somebody that she knows, so we'll see how that goes. But now it's like just these little things, like, and then securing our job site trailers. And like I had asked the question yesterday, it's like, you know, how do we go about job site trailers? We're already on base. Like, that doesn't make any sense why I have to have all these. We're already like at the Delta Pier. Like, it's you need an expert to get down there, but still, this is our CUI that we have to handle, that we have to store, and we have to have those safeguards around that. So we're just trying to figure out our own protocol to figure out our own challenges right now, so that we can communicate that to our subs. So we have to find out what challenges we're facing, so that, because they're going to face the same ones. So we have to figure out how we're going to deal with that first, and then kind of help them navigate through it.
You might want to do it in parallel.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if, I want to say Randy was on the panel, I'm not sure, but PSYOP session that we went to last month before, had 3 primes up on stage. And were you one of them?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and I'm going to ask you the same question. So that caught everybody off guard. Everybody was excited about the opportunities of PSYOP and the big dollars that were coming to their organizations and their subs, and planning. The future looks great. What is the one most biggest concern that you have with those big contracts?
Staffing. That's one of the biggest, is staffing. You know, it's one of the things that I brought up is in all of our contracts, what it says for a QC, a superintendent, or a site safety officer, depending on whether it's a 2-hat, 3-hat, single hat, it, 5 years, 10 years of experience. It depends on what the type of the project is. Well, the thing that nobody's ever been able to answer my question is, how did somebody get day one out there? You got 5 years, but how did you get day one? You got 10 years, how did you get day one? So my thing to the captain was, you guys are going to have to do something at NAFAC to lessen the rules to get people that are qualified but maybe don't have 5 years on the base or 10 years on the base, but they're clearly qualified. They've done similar size and complexity. So they need to be led on these bases, because there's no way that we're going to be able to staff all of these jobs. I had a recent one that came out on the 8A MAC. It was a building 885 down in Bremerton, and it caught on fire. So they have people out there doing some demo, but they want to get this remodeled. Now the ship comes in May. So they need the north and south wing, which is 10 floors each, that they want this completely gutted and remodeled and all brand new stuff for when that boat gets in there. The qualifications that they put on the job, they wanted a QC, superintendent, and SSHO that all had 10 plus years of experience. This is just a tenant improvement. It was pretty much overkill. Now you're going to have to do 2 shifts. So now I need 6 altogether. But also, I need another 2 because the SSHO has to be on site at all times or no work could be performed. So you have to have alternates just in case. So now you have 8. You're not going to find 8 that aren't working right now. It's not going to happen. And then you're going to have to bring on, as soon as you get the contract, within a week, you got to bring them on. It's impossible. It can't be done. So these unrealistic expectations need to change on that side. And so that was one of the things I says, but as I brought up, and I talked to the lieutenant commander about this, and I said, yeah, I can put it in my bid. I can put $300,000 to hire a superintendent for 5 months, right? Why can't I? I'm just going to steal him from somebody else's job. But what happens to that job? That job just shut down because they don't have a qualified person on that job. So what are you creating out there? You're creating a problem inside of that problem. And that's one of my biggest frustrations on a lot of that, is that we got to think outside of the box of this thing and work as a team, not against each other, work as a team. On this one, I will say I did get him to lessen what was the qualifications of the staff and who only needed to be on site per time for a job of this size. This is a category 3-4 job. It should have just needed a task order site superintendent for the deal. But I understood that when a 3-star general gets involved in this and he gets what he wants. And this is what he thought it needed for this, and that's why it got written this way. But they did listen to what we had to talk to. When I had a conversation with them, they listened. And I couldn't appreciate it more, because it did make it easier for other people to bid that job. Unfortunately, there's no way that we found a way to get that done in 5 months. And with the LDs that were on that one, which was $33,400 a day, was not something that we were as a company going to take on that kind of risk. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I had rose-colored glasses when I was listening, and the response that I heard, the biggest fear was CMMC.
Yes, it is too. Yeah. I mean, that's staffing, but obviously cybersecurity is the biggest thing, because if they're not certified and we can't have subs out there, I can't even bid on the work to get the work done that I'm contracted to do.
No.
Yeah.
Very much
Yeah.
so. I know the whole reason we're doing today, doing the Q&A thing, is because there are so many questions. Please reach out to these guys outside of this, but we're excited we get to have C3PAOs come up for our next session and ask strategically any of the questions that you can think of that you're concerned about, the trailers, the printers, all those things.